bad feeling about this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contiengecy Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is no one. Darth Austin has the day off. It's just me flying solo here. Kind of doing an all-flying solo podcast, which is actually true this time. We will, of course, and I say we because it's just become force of habit, but I will be with you today. We are still reading through the new Jedi Order series here in Vector Prime. We are going to be going through Chapter 21, entitled False Serenity. Now, this chapter is a bit short, so I've attempted to bring a couple of topics to the table here, a couple of news bits, and a few other things, just to kind of get us through. So I apologize if this particular episode winds up being a bit short. Sitting here talking by yourself, unfortunately, sometimes, I don't have anybody to riff off of or that can riff off of me. So anyway, I appreciate all of you. And for those of you, maybe if you're new or, hey, if you've been around for a while, make sure you check out our Facebook page. Again, that's just the Contiengecy Plan Podcast on Facebook. You can get your daily dose of meme as well as, chat with us. Send us a message. Let us know what you're thinking about the podcast. Maybe, share some of your theories that we can discuss on the podcast. Of course, we're ramping up a lot of speculation for the latest movie, episode 9. Of course, we still have a lot of time for that, but we are going to be ramping up a lot of the discussion as far as that goes. So yeah, make sure you check us out on Facebook. Or if you just like to drop us an email, maybe just email us your Star Wars story. How did you get into Star Wars? What about Star Wars was captivating for you? You can send that to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com, and we will be sure to answer those. Also, we have our Patreon page up. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, we do have our Dinner with the Patrons series, which is just where me and Austin here, we sit down and just eat some food and chat, and we can, you guys just sit down and eat with us and listen to us chat. It's just a little bit of extra content for you, thanking you for any support you provide. So that's of course not mandatory, but it is out there for you if you are interested. So going into a little solo Jedi Council, obviously again, Darth Austin is out, so it's just me flying solo today. This past week has been relatively busy with work, so not a lot of time just to play around. We are definitely in winter. Winter has came here to the great state of Ohio. Seeing a lot of, very cold temperatures, especially at night. I don't think we've had in the past week or so anything over, into the 40s. We've pretty much been solidly 20s, 30s, even below that, obviously in the morning. So, but we've had a few sunny days, not really much in the way of snow, just a couple of little flurries there, here and there. So, what are you guys looking like? I wonder, because I know we have some listeners from different places in the country, different places across the globe. But here in Ohio, we are starting to get into the throes of winter, and it's not necessarily anyone's favorite time of the year, but, it could be worse, I suppose. So anyway, aside from that, really nothing much else going on. Just kind of been doing our thing and living life, and that's about all I can expect from it. So I'm going to go ahead and pop right into the HoloNet here. I've pulled a couple of interesting little stories from the past week or so. Figured we'd kind of talk a little bit about, sort of what's going on in the Star Wars universe. Obviously, I'm still counting down to Celebration, which, is not too far away. I'm very excited about, heading up to Chicago to attend that. And when I get there, I'm going to have a few of my buddies there that run the Rebel Watch podcast, an all Star Wars podcast. So if you haven't checked them out, make sure you do. They have a very active, YouTube page. Their stuff is published on all the podcasting networks as well. But they're a lot more video centric. Real great guys. I've known them for quite a long time, and I've collaborated with them on their podcast. I've been on their podcast. We did trivia, which was a lot of fun, and just other things. We've done some literary stuff over there too, rereading through some of the Old Republic books, Revan. They're over on my bookcase, but I don't remember. Was it Annihilation and? There were two other ones but anyway, that was a lot of fun. And for those of you, if you want to jump into a different a different sector in the Star Wars universe, book wise, definitely recommend Revan. That was a really fun book to read, and I would also advocate reading the Aftermath series. I think that those books were a lot of fun too, which obviously reestablish a different canon from what we're reading here today. But anyway, so let's go in. I've got a couple things here, a couple of announcements, just little things. So how about this one, Columbia? So Columbia, I actually have a Columbia soft shell jacket right next to me. As a matter of fact, Columbia, so the company has put out a limited edition parka inspired by the jackets worn by the cast and crew of The Empire Strikes Back. Very nice. So I don't know if any of you have seen this, but this is a heavy duty parka. My goodness, I don't know if that's actual fur lining there of the cap, but it looks like, if it's not, probably, I would assume it probably isn't real fur. I know everybody's kind of definitely against the real fur, which I understand that. I mean, I'm not advocating one way or the other, but pretty long jacket, lots of pockets. Two big old front pockets down at the bottom, a nice little, pretty big breast pockets. Got a ton of different patches. There's like a little Star Wars patch on the arm, a little Empire Strikes Back with a big old Darth Vader head on fire, patch on the front. Got a crew patch, Norwegian unit patch on the breast pocket. So it's really cool. It's blue. It's got these little black and orange stripes on the sleeves. The reason I brought this up, because it's super cool and I would love to have one. I think originally these things were retailing for like $500 US. $500. That's a lot. That's a lot of money, folks. I did kind of look a little bit here. So there's one on eBay for $800. Oh, there's one at some weird site here for $1,200. I mean, that's just insane. I'm all for. Well, actually, I'm really not. I don't really buy too much in the way of expensive clothing if I don't have to. And we don't. Obviously, it's cold here, but we don't see those sort of extreme temperatures. A good sturdy Carhartt coat usually does the job. But this is really neat. It's a really cool coat. Overpriced. Probably. But very, very, very neat, kind of limited edition piece of clothing there. Kind of brings you into brings you into the fold a little bit more, for any of our peers out there, want to be a little bit more tied to the movies and the experience. So excuse me. That's kind of neat. That's kind of a neat little thing there. Another story that's been populating around here. So the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. This was kind of cool. This little, sort of like theme attraction. And I'm trying to get the site to load here, but basically, what has popped out are pictures of the, I believe it's the finished Millennium Falcon. And this is supposed to be, as soon as I can get this page to load, this is Disney World. Supposed to just be a nice little, cool little theme attraction part of the park. And obviously, if I could get in the, I want to go. If I can get in the Millennium Falcon, I'm pretty much set. I don't know about all you guys, but I'm pretty stoked. And the pictures of the Falcon look really, really cool. So here, opening in fall 2019. So I gotta say, I might be. Oh goodness, there's definitely some spending for trips next year already. Maybe I can talk everybody into kind of going down here, because that would be a pretty cool experience. Let's see, introducing the planet Batuu. Journey to Batuu, traveling to the thriving port of rogue traders, droids, and strange creatures while exploring planet Batuu. Black Spire Outpost. Set your coordinates for this notorious spaceport in the galactic frontier before heading out to wild space. Oh goodness. I think this would be a lot of fun. Lot of fun. I wonder what else they're kind of. I to be honest with you, I really haven't looked too much into this. I knew it was happening, but I haven't really looked into kind of what they were putting into it. So as soon as we started talking Millennium Falcon, I mean, I'm pretty stoked about that. Han Solo was always my favorite character. He was always the one that kind of sparked my imagination. And the Millennium Falcon was just awesome. I had a big Millennium Falcon in my room. Let's see here. Set to encompass 14 acres. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Trip to Orlando might be in the future. We will see. Let's see here. Doesn't really look like there's a lot more. The project looks okay. So this is being designed in collaboration with Story Group, so that's definitely good. Obviously, Story Group is pretty much tasked to keep the story straight. So yeah, I don't know. I think this should be pretty cool. So hopefully it is. I've never been to Disney World, or I've never even really thought about that. I do have to say I had kind of wanted to go to the Harry Potter thing, just if we're talking about amusement. But I never really went to amusement parks as a kid. We just never really did that. My biggest vacation as a kid was going to Washington D.C. for a week and seeing all the monuments and everything, which was really neat, especially for a young kid. But yeah, we never went to amusement parks. Unfortunately, it was a little too expensive and just never happened. So maybe I'll be a big kid and in the fall of 2019, maybe me and the buddies will go down to Orlando. I think I could talk some people into doing that. All right, let's go to it. This is kind of a smaller piece, but so Solo, here's a headline. Solo, a Star Wars story, score, was disqualified from the Oscars. So obviously the Oscars are, the kind of the buzz of those are picking up. I haven't watched the Oscars in many years because I just don't really care. And also, I kind of get sick of the whole Hollywood thing in general. I'm just kind of weird like that, but it's just never really been my thing to watch. I don't really need the spectacle. But I did find this kind of interesting. So the score from John Powell with themes by John Williams was cut from list of potential nominees after it was submitted too late, not meeting the Academy's November 15th deadline for submissions. How do you do that? It doesn't surprise me. I guess there are a few others were disqualified for the same reason. Just kind of weird. You would think that with that movie being kind of, I don't know. I love Solo. I thought it was a really good movie. I watched it the first day that it came to the theaters, and me and my buddies went up to Cleveland and watched it at a smaller theater there, and I loved it. I bought the movie as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, and I thought it was great. But obviously, the rest of the world, I guess, didn't really. I don't think it wasn't necessarily panned, by critics. It wasn't really like lambasted or anything. But people I just don't think they wanted to watch it. The backlash from The Last Jedi and people's opinions of that, I think, really did hurt it. But I really thought it was a great movie. And if I'm just looking here, so the budget, now we're talking the budget, they're talking anywhere from, I've heard 250 to 300 million. And it looks like right now, as far as gross, and I don't know, this could be, okay, so this looks like it was official as of, October. So there have been a few months in between here, but at this point, just under 400 million at the box office, 392.9. So, that's going to encompass people going to the movies, not necessarily. I wonder if I can look up the actual gross from that movie. Let's see if I can do that real quick. We have the time. We've got a short chapter. We've got the time to yak. But a lot of people really didn't really care as much about this particular movie, and I thought it was really cool. But sorry, my point is, my long rambly point is you would think that Disney would do everything that they could in order to make this movie some sort of a success. And if you could get a some like an Oscar or whatever from just the score or something of that nature, I don't know. You would think that they would want to do that. I don't know. You tell me. I think that they would, but who knows? Who knows? So, let's see here. But yeah, so it was 213,767,512 domestically, right? Yeah, okay. And then let's see, 179, 157, 295. Oh, well, I guess if I actually was adding that correctly. Got the calculator out here. I was trying. They don't actually put the total. Oh, no, wait. There was a total. Derp. Yeah, okay. So that was, I guess that is current. So just under 400 million. I don't know. I guess. But I mean, that's from the box office. So I don't know. Maybe I'll look into that a little further. But anyway, a very small piece of news, but just sort of seems odd that they wouldn't be more in tune to that, to try and capitalize off of something. So anyway, let's move on to the last little tidbit that I went ahead and pulled here. So I don't know how many of you are Battlefront 2 players. To be honest with you, I haven't been on Battlefront in a few months now. I thought it was a pretty fun game when it came out, although the paywall stuff was annoying. The crates I thought were kind of interesting, but I think the crates would have worked if they were like more, that you don't pay it. It's more of a, just like a sort of a semi-reward or something you can unlockable stuff. Anyway, Battlefront 2 took a heck of a beating. It really did. And a lot of fans really were turned off. And I understand that. I totally understand that. I'm not judging it, but I do understand. But I had fun with it. So anyway, Battlefront EA has attempted to put out a lot of content, and they really have. Most recently, they put out some more stuff with Geonosis, adding Obi-Wan Kenobi and General Grievous in there, which is neat. And basically they're going to be throwing a couple of other small things in there this winter. Let me see. Surrounded improvement made. Sim will bring more updates. Should please gamers, which should draw more fans in. Doesn't look like they're really giving exactly what's in December at this point. January, we are looking at not much. Looks like they'll add Count Dooku. Okay. Sure. I guess that's fine. February should be interesting. So we'll have Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka, and you know what? I didn't remember this particular character. I'll look up an image and I'll probably remember. So, man, I need Darth Austin to pronounce things for me. Asajj Ventress, maybe? I don't remember that name. So I'm going to look it up because I am professional like that. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that was a connection to Count Dooku. She's an assassin. All right, that's right. I remember. Not vividly, but I do remember. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, I think that what they've done, like I played Geonosis a bit. I think that a lot of their updates and a lot of the other stuff, I thought it's been pretty cool. But I thought the base game was pretty okay. I just thought it needed a little bit more. I was playing a lot of Blast. I did do the larger campaign stuff as well, but I was just a fan of jumping into the shorter Blast matches, and I always thought that was pretty fun. So aside from that, that's pretty much all we are going to talk about here as far as current news. Obviously, next week when we bring Darth Austin back, we will talk about some other things. And, me and him also have some conversations that are going to be going down surrounding some other content that we kind of want to do. I think at this point we really need to start, cranking out some other stuff. But obviously with the holidays coming around, it does become a little harder to do a lot of that sort of stuff. But we will try our best, and hopefully you guys stick around for the ride. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead and head out into the reread. So again, we are in Chapter 21, False Serenity. And in our last chapter, which was, again, a pretty short chapter, but this was centered around, largely the hunt for Anakin. Jason and Anakin's viewpoints changing about their philosophies and their fights, really bringing into more so the maturity of Jaina, and a little bit more into the eyes of the Yuuzhan Vong and Dagara, and sort of what they're really doing here, probing along, infesting more of the galaxy, and sort of their plans on further conquest. And then, of course, we kind of end that chapter with Leia basically hearing Anakin's call through the Force. So again, this chapter is actually relatively short. Let's see, how many pages is this thing? Well, you guys should know, but it's like 8 to 10 pages. So not a ton here. It's a bit more of a setup chapter, which is fine. We've definitely blasted through these as time goes by. So we are back on Dunbrillion, and we're starting with a little conversation between Lando and Luke. I'd be lying if I told you that we weren't surprised, Lando assured Luke soon after the Jade Saber put down on Dunbrillion later that same day as the battle. Mara had gone off with Jaina and Jason to hear the stories of the fight, but Lando had insisted that Luke come with him right away. We found it on the outskirts of the city, Lando explained. The pilot was already dead, but we still found it with our sensors tuned to detect life forms. So basically they found a downed coral skipper. The pilot was dead. It was a female pilot. And Lando, had swept the planet looking for life signs and found the coral skipper. And, he's basically like, this is a living thing. It's a ship. It's a living organism, not a machine. And it's beautiful to look at. And in a pragmatic design. And, Luke was kind of surprised by this. He was a little skeptical. Lando's like, it's beautiful. It's a living ship. Well, first of all, a living ship. A living organism. Something they haven't seen before, but something they're going to have to get used to here pretty quick. And as they come upon the downed coral skipper, that's a living organism, he asked. And Luke has seen these before as they had, had a brief battle in the Haleska system. But Luke couldn't deny Lando's claim of the beauty of the thing, though now that he had the chance to see it up close and not buzzing about him in battle. So, we had already kind of established that these are, it's a living coral ship. And coral is actually really cool to look at. We do have a bit more of a description here. So this one was roughly triangular in shape, resembling a miniature version of an Imperial Star Destroyer. Okay, so a little mini coral Star Destroyer. Smooth sides, save the mini volcanic cannons, but now he understood that the whole of the ship was even more integrated than that, like one piece of what looked like living coral. Already established. Anyway, so Lando, and as beautiful a starfighter design as my scientists have seen, fast and can snap turn with an A-wing and with more firepower than almost anything that size we can put up. Oh, let's see here. Lando goes on, the pilot wore a mask. Well, no, more than that. It was a connection to her companion. Her companion, more than a ship, Lando tried to explain. So, again, this is we've obviously established this race uses, living organisms, the little star thing that goes down your throat helps you breathe underwater. The Ugolith Mascure, which is essentially like a suit, and then there's I don't remember if it was the Ugolith or if it was another one, but they use this like a wetsuit on the ice planet. The Villip. These are all, living creatures. And in this instance, they're realizing that the Yuz and Vong are connected. They're connected to these ships. It's more of a companion more so than a craft. We can't know for sure yet. We're testing the thing, but no one's about to put that mask on yet. And then Luke answers, "Sure I am." Yeah. So I mean, basically, none of Lando's people they don't want to use this mask. It's kind of creepy. It goes over your face. But Luke's like, "Well, yeah, I'll do it." But Lando doesn't. He does go on. We don't know enough about it. Like this thing at the nose, he added, pointing to the front of the starfighter, where some of the multicolored coral-like substance had been chipped away, relieving a thumb-sized dark red membranous ball. All right. It's alive! Or at least it was, we think. And it's not part of the bigger ship, any more than the pilot was. You should see her, the pilot I mean, full of muscles and full of tattoos, and with her face all scarred and her nose broken probably a dozen times. Now this, of course, flicks Luke's memory, because they had faced Yamin Kar. Him and his wife Mara had faced Yamin Kar already. So they had already seen this kind of appearance, but to Lando, I mean, this is the first time he's seeing anything like this. And then Luke asks, "Have you seen the body Mara and I brought back?" Not yet. Same thing. Luke nods. And then, without further hesitation, Luke pulls the mask and helmet over his head, and immediately he felt the joining. And he heard a voice, a distant murmuring in what sounded like the same language he had heard the membranous ball on the Jade Saber use. Now, this was his whole thing. He wanted to bring, what they had found on their trip back for C-3PO. So immediately Luke says, "We need C-3PO." But Luke, I mean, and that's essentially what they're going to do here. Let's see. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Lando and Luke continue speaking here for a little bit. "The key is that planet," Luke explained to Lando after the man had shown Luke two other surprises they had pulled from the downed enemy starfighter. A suit, more like a second skin, Ugolith Maskir, and the star-shaped creature with the sixth appendage. Yeah, we know what that sixth appendage is going to do. Similar to the mask within the starfighter. Both were alive, and Luke had dared to experiment with them, even going as far to let the suit creature slide up his body and join with him, and to put the mask thing on his face, resisting the urge to gag and the ultimate revulsion. Now he understood the truth of the fourth planet of the Haleska system. Now he had known what their enemies were living not on the frozen planet, but beneath the icy crust. So, using what he's experimented with, he now understands that they're not using the outer shell of the planet. They're down below. This is a giant ice ball. There's got to be some water there, and essentially Luke's first thought here is we've got to go back. We've got to go back, and he pretty much puts Lando to task here because it's. The thought is about how to get in, and it's not easy. The Yuz and Vong had other methods to get into the core of the planet, whereas our heroes here do have the methods, but not the same. So Luke then says, "You've mined ice planets before. I've mined every type of planet," came the response. "And there are ships used to get through the crust of icy planets, both for individuals and for larger expeditions. Where can we find them?" And here's the other thing. So here in a second, now Lando basically says that if there was a vessel used for mining at any planet, there is here at Denbrillion's sister planet, Destrillion. Now we already know that the Yuz and Vong are planning on essentially, disabling Destrillion, which is where apparently Lando's mining ship is, so that's not real good. But Lando says, I can have one here by morning. I don't know what kind of condition it'll be in. And then Luke says, but you can fix it. Lando says, should be able to. Oh, so anyway, he is then going off here, and Luke essentially, his first instinct is to run straight to the Jade Saber and go off to find Anakin. He does understand, Leia and Han are after it, but again, this is his nephew, very important to him. So that's his first instinct. Now we're going to flip point of views here a little bit. We are in the Millennium Falcon. Leia had heard the call loud and clear, and had actually viewed the star formation through Anakin's eyes. Using the visual image, she had little trouble scrolling through the navigational computer and locating the sector. Now, in movie form, until The Last Jedi, we really haven't gone over anything related to Leia's Force sensitivity, aside from the fact that Luke was able to call out to her over great distance when he was trapped in Cloud City. Now, that's cool and all. And Leia's displaying this again, however, a little bit more when you think about it. So with Luke, she heard the call, and she's like, well, we've got to go back. So she knew that he was there on Cloud City, but, I don't know. I guess it's interpretation. But for me, she just heard the call as we got to turn back. But here, she's actually able to see through Anakin's eyes to see the formations of stars and then translate that into the navigation of the Millennium Falcon in order to find him. That's pretty cool. Like, I'll be honest with you, the only constellation of stars in the night sky that I can point out with any sort of, reliability is Orion's Belt. And I don't know why, but that one always stuck with me. It's just the first thing I see in the night sky is Orion's Belt. And I can pick out a few more if I'm really pushed towards it. But if I were going to be doing star navigation, probably couldn't do that. But that's actually pretty cool. So she sees the stars' formations through Anakin's eyes, and then was able to scroll through the navigational computer and locate the sector. That's pretty cool. Now, of course, they do still have some fear here. They fear that, even with this reference point, by the time they get to him, like, is the ship damaged? Will Anakin even be alive? But, that's what they have to do. They have to find him. And they do. They do find him. They're able to bring the tie in and get Anakin on board. And this is kind of where we sort of see the second kind of not confrontation, but father and son. This is obviously very important because we know sort of the last conversation they had. Han turned and stared hard at his son, and then his stern edge melted away and bolted from his seat, wrapping Anakin in a bear hug. He jumped back almost at once, though, and slugged his son in the shoulder. You ever do that to me again, kid, and I'll kick you from here to Coruscant. And to Anakin, this scolding hit his ears like the sweetest music ever played. Han has always had that kind of way about him. The joking jest, the kind of sternness, but in jest, and to Anakin, this is getting back. It's like, oh, okay, so yeah, Dad was mad, but now maybe we're cool, and that, I mean, that's important. That's important. Chewie was so important to Han. He was important to everybody. The hurt of Chewie's death was felt by them all, not just Han. We have to remember that, but. Being, I don't want to say the cause of it, but kind of the cause of it, and then not being able to rescue him. I mean, that hits Han hard. But here it looks like we've kind of patched that up. So that's really cool. So they're heading back to Dunbrillion, arrived there the next morning, and landing soon after the curious mining craft that Lando had spoken to Luke about was towed in. It was called an ice borer, also known as a style of ship, Lando had told Luke, because of its shape, long and narrow, with a tapered front end. Nothing phallic about that. The pilot would lie down along the length of its translucent cylinder, head forward. All right. Now, Lando says it's not for long-distance flight. It'll have to be towed to the Haleska system. And that's have to be towed. Nothing like a moving target there. I wonder how fast. I guess I've never really connected this, but I wonder how fast you can go while towing. Can you go to light speed while towing something? Anyway, good thing for another look it up. Let's see. And they were all interrupted by Jason's call. They're back as a young man ran in the room and to Luke's side. Mom and Dad, they've got Anakin. Luke nodded, not surprised. And C-3PO, let's get some more answers. Now, C-3PO finally comes around here. It's not a difficult language at all, Master Luke, which, of course it's not. We had kind of, speculated a little bit about this, how C-3PO was going to kind of handle this language. Wasn't anything known at the time. R2-D2 was befuddled, but C-3PO obviously can do about anything here. And he says, somewhat like the Janguine language of the jungle barbarians of, what did it say? Han interrupted. One day, Han, he's going to rip his head off, man. Come on. It's the message to Yamin Kar, Luke pressed. It is indeed, and might I comment on your sharp hearing to catching the name amidst a fast-talking jumble. And then, of course, it's like, come on, C-3PO. Now the message is in reference to the movement of the Praetoriat Vong is underway. Your part for now is done. Good work. Praetoriat Vong? And then Luke said, I heard that before. Han then chips in, some sort of mercenary band? A big one, if that's what it is. And then again, Han's just kind of a little slow on the uptake here. From Janguine? Oh, I hardly think that likely, the droid responded. The jungle barbarians and blah, blah, blah. Shut up, C-3PO. We don't want to hear your stuff. So, interesting part here. So, the root language of the Yuuzhan Vong is something that C-3PO can understand from this Janguine tongue of the jungle barbarians. Jungle barbarians. Well, the Yuuzhan Vong are a warrior race. And I don't know what the jungle barbarians of Janguine or anything like. Might try and look that up. I don't know if that's in anybody's wiki. Let's see here. So that was the message that was to Yamin Kar. Now Luke then says, come on, C-3PO, I'm not done with you yet. Now Luke then is taking him to the Coral Skipper. Up you go. What, in there, Master Luke? Started to protest. So he's basically trying to get him in the Coral Skipper. He wants to put the mask over C-3PO, and of course 3PO is not really liking that. And then Luke says, it doesn't hurt. Now listen to it. Hear it carefully and remember every word. So C-3PO is now in contact with the Coral Skipper. So C-3PO says they call it a Coral Skipper. C-3PO, fidgeting in the cockpit, soon informed them they breed it to serve as starships, both fighter and larger. What powers it? C-3PO found and reported two answers, one conventional and one far beyond their comprehension. First, the Coral Skipper could move along much as it fired its guns using the opposing force of the spitting, and it could refuel and rearm by eating rocks. So, first, the Coral Skipper could move along much as it fired its guns using the opposing force of that spitting. So, are they saying that it has to fire its guns to move? Huh. Okay. And then it eats rocks in order to refuel. Han interjects, "How did you know that?" "Because it's telling me it's hungry." Oh, that's funny. So the Coral Skipper is informing C-3PO that it's hungry. And of course, Luke says, "I can't eat you. Come on, 3PO. We really need you here." C-3PO conversed with the ship a little longer and then explained that the second propulsion system was tied to the back. Was tied back to that thumb-sized creature in the nose and had something to do with focusing gravity fields. So yeah, we already kind of heard a little bit about that with the Davin Bassels as well. So it looks like I'm no engineer, but so the firing of its weapons, I think that would have more to do with like, moving around in battle using kind of like thrusters, I guess, and then the usage of the thumb-sized creature. And the focusing of gravity fields, that must be how they propel in longer distances. Luke thought back to his fight in the Haleska system, to the loss of his shields. Might it be that the same creature was able to do so accurately focus its gravitational grasp that it could tear the shields off a starfighter? He leaned hard against the side of the Coral Skipper, taking many deep breaths. I swear I can read, I promise. This whole thing was mounting ominously. It was apparent to him now this one was indeed an extra-galactic intelligence at work, and obviously a hostile one. Employing methods and organic technology far different from and perhaps superior to anything the New Republic could use or counter. Belkanen, the Haleska system, Dunbrillion, and Serpidol were not unrelated events. Soon after, the four rejoined their companions and Lando in the central control room with their grim information. One piece of good news was the arrival of the Rejuvenator, an Imperial II-class Star Destroyer, along with a sizable and impressive task force, including half a dozen of the new Ranger-class gunships. Now, that last part is important to note because the Yuuzhan Vong wanted this. They've already brought in a sizable force here, and they're confident. They're confident in their force. So that was part of the plan. They wanted the Republic to bring in their more powerful ships so that they could test themselves, so they could see if they could stand up. And again, unfortunately, it's about the only thing the Republic could do. I mean, they have to do something, right? But it is playing in the hands of the Yuuzhan Vong. So we've got to be careful here. We've got to be very careful here in the next few chapters, and we're closely rumbling towards the end of this book. Again, this was chapter 21. We're going to be taking a look at chapter 22, entitled "Turning It Back." This is only 25 chapters, so we're narrowing it down. We're in the final stretch, and more than likely what we're going to do towards the end here is we will do, after we finish the final chapter, we will then do another episode that will just be centered around us recapping the book, kind of our thoughts about it, and then moving into a little bit of predictions for the second book in the line. And yeah, I kind of like the chapter. It was informative. I mean, a lot of the stuff we already knew, but it is giving more information to our heroes. They're now understanding the depth of what is going on. They are starting to understand the technology. And, let's face it, folks. This might be more than they can handle. Luke's already kind of figuring this out. This could be more than we can take. But they're going to fight it because that's what good rebels do. All right, so thank you guys again. We, for myself and Darth Austin, we definitely appreciate you listening to these podcasts. Hopefully you're okay with me just flying solo. Obviously, we bounce a lot of stuff off of each other, and doing these things solo can be a little difficult. But, I appreciate you guys sticking with it. And, again, let us know your thoughts. Hit up the Facebook page, send us an email, head over to Patreon, let us know what's going on there. Whatever you want to do, tell us what you think about the podcast, what you think about the chapter. You can leave us a review on iTunes. Leave us a good old 5-star review. Leave all your negative reviews on YouTube though, because that's where those are for. But anyway, thank you very much for stopping by for another week of the Contiengecy Plan Podcast, and for Darth Austin and myself, may the Force be with you.